America, my name is Osei-Frimpong, and you are watching the Black Athenians. And you see there's a graphic right over my, I'm just going to leave this graphic here because it's important. There's a graphic over my right shoulder. It might be your left shoulder. I'm not sure yet. That tells you the racial breakdown of the voters who elected Doug Jones. But let's be honest, we didn't elect Doug Jones. We killed Roy Moore. We killed Moore in Alabama. So it's not so much that a Democrat won Alabama, but a Republican lost, and that's still kind of a big deal. But more importantly, that Republican lost because of us. Now we're going to talk about what we get in our cut after the opening. Hit it.
To the beat, y'all.
Yeah. Sound good to me. Never change the ways for the world or the government. If I was the president, then I would state facts. You leave it up to me, I'll paint the White House black and ain't no future in your front.
To the beat, y'all.
Yeah. Sound good to me. Never change the ways for the world or the government. If I was the president, then I would state facts. You leave it up to me, I'll paint the White House black and ain't no future in your front.
Hey, all right, so what is our cut? That's the issue. So before we get going, because I'm going to go through a lot of things that we're owed. The intern Matthew's not here right now, so I'm going to be doing tech stuff here while also speaking to you here. I'm not distracted. I'm not being rude. I have a lot of irons in the fire right now. It's that time of the semester, though. I know a lot of you people are academics who watch this, and it's that time of the year. I, too, am writing papers and grading papers and, helping, teach the people what they need to know to get black people the justice that they deserve. Whatever I teach, that's the subject. They think I'm teaching intro to philosophy or whatever. No, I'm teaching black people. I'm not actually teaching black people. I'm teaching what black people need to a lot of actual Hope Scholarship people who actually take black people's lottery money and then launder it through the government to come to the University of Georgia, where I am in Athens, Georgia. But what we're going to do now is talk about Alabama and what that means for black people's pockets in Athens, Georgia. And what that, like I said, if it works in Athens, Georgia, it works in Columbia, South Carolina. It works in Gainesville. It might even work in St. Louis. Definitely works in Richmond because, like I say every week, because I think it's true. Richmond, Virginia is like Athens, Georgia, except like bigger, like more money, more black poverty. It's like it's the same except bigger. So I think the solutions we talk about will scale up if we get serious about talking about solutions. Now, I'm going to bring up a video because people ask, hey, what are the solutions? What are the solutions? Number one solution, federal job guarantee. Jobs. The market does not hire black people because America was not made to hire black people. We were not brought over here, like the culture, both the industrial culture and the actual fabric of the nation is not made to privately hire black people at fair wages. It's organized to exploit labor, and if there are black people around, that labor will be black. So as soon as you walk in the room, you become exploitable labor. Like that's what you bring that with you. Just like you bring your black skin, you bring the knowledge that America knows how to treat us. Now, we have to reteach America how to treat us, but America knows how to treat us, and they treat us like exploitable labor. And we're not even like the greatest kind of exploitable labor now because we demand rights and stuff and to be treated like persons. So we're like the stuff that they want to find a way to throw out. And make no mistake, if we don't watch ourselves, like there are a lot of people in these United States who wouldn't mind just replacing us with other people as exploitable labor, and then just putting us in an oven somewhere, and then like in some mass grave. Because I will tell you that every place in the United States where there's a Confederate monument, within a mile radius, there's probably some mass slave graves that nobody just talks about. Because, whatever. Like old shoes, those Negroes. Just like old shoes. So, what do we do about the fact that we killed Roy Moore. We didn't elect Doug Jones. Doug Jones wasn't. We didn't like. He wasn't our pick. But we killed Roy Moore, and we could do that again. I need you to post this. I realize that now. I need you guys to post this on Facebook and Twitter. I need to post it myself on my Facebook and Twitter because I'm going to go over these solutions rather quickly, and I want everyone to know what I'm talking about as I'm talking about it. So let me go over to my Facebook and tell the people what I'm doing. Here it is. Here's the show. And then I'm going to break down some solutions and how we leverage our newly revealed power. And then also send this out on Twitter. And if you have any sort of political connections, go ahead and email them and send it on your listservs. Because there's going to be a little bit of policy and a little bit of strategy. And everyone should know because we do things in public right now. We can do things in public. And I'm going to call for a race war within the Democratic Party. So this is very important to everyone to get right. Here's the show. And now let me get into it. So we killed Roy Moore, which is important because we can do it again. If we did it in Alabama, we did it in Alabama. We might be able to do it in Mississippi. We might be able to do it in Georgia. But we killed him. We killed him. We should take a little bit of a victory lap. However, we're not going to get any policy from Doug Jones. We're not going to get any policy from Doug Jones. So this is a symbolic victory for us. People think it's a substantive victory. Some other people will tell you it's a substantive victory. For them, it's their job to tell you that it's a substantive victory. No, this is a symbolic victory for us. But we need to learn from this symbol and turn it into a substantive victory. And the way we do it is to turn our votes into leverage, right? So last week I talked about nonviolent cooperation, nonviolent non-cooperation, and how it really works if you can take losses and if you're willing to take losses. And it can work if you're willing to take losses. And it also teaches people how to treat you. So we need to show the Democratic Party that we're willing to sit out the next time. We need to actually sit out. And they're going to say, well, the Republican will win. And they'll say, well, we're willing to accept that loss because you're not talking about a federal job guarantee. And I'm going to say those words a lot. Federal job guarantee. White people pretty much got it with the WPA. Federal job guarantee at a fair wage. That's what we need. And it's not just me who's saying that's what we need. It's a guy by the name of Sandy Darity. Sandy Darity is a professor at Duke University in public policy. He studies the racial wealth gap. If you're familiar with Yvette and Antonio Moore, or if you're not familiar with Yvette Carnell and Antonio Moore, you should be. They do good work. They, like myself, are on YouTube actually talking about black politics. So go ahead and find Yvette and find Antonio at Tone Talks. But if you're familiar with them, you know of Sandy Darity. And Sandy Darity and his partner, Derek Hamilton, a guy at the New School, realized, they did the math and they crunched the numbers and said, like, all of these fancy programs, your Bitcoin, your micro loans, all these fancy programs, like, they're not going to work for the level of degradation that black people have endured for the last, 400 years. But like, really, it was slavery, but not just slavery. It was a terrorism. It was a terrorism of Jim Crow that actually did us in. So when everyone else was making money, we were scared because we were being lynched. And that's a problem. Not for individual blacks. Some individual blacks kind of squeezed in, but for black communities, that's been our problem. And since real wealth is a community property, not an individual property, that's a problem for all black people. And that's a problem for justice. Because what we had was an American problem. That is, what do we do with our Negroes? We had an American problem. That was an American problem coming out of the Civil War and Reconstruction that was now turned into a black community problem. So you know how you pool risk and pool insurance with like sick people and healthy people and all that stuff, and you pool it so that everyone pays like a reasonable premium? That's what we should have done with what do we do with the Negroes we degraded. Instead, we said, well, we have this American problem. We're going to concentrate it as if it's a black problem in the black community and give every other American a risk holiday. They get the money. We'll put the risk in the black community. And what's the problem? Just black people. Problem is, I have a problem with that. So we need to actually start distributing that legacy that built so much American money. We need to distribute it fairly among all Americans and maybe give black people a little bit of a holiday. Depending on who you talk to, I think maybe we should get a breath. It's very stressful being black. Stressful. Just ask Omarosa. Omarosa will tell you it's very stressful being black. She said famously, she was very wise when she said this too. She's like, look, I joined the Trump administration because black people, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. She said that, and you know what? She was right. But it turns out black people, we can do two things. We can do two things at the same time. We can both be at the table and on the menu. So Omarosa, she didn't order herself. She was like, ooh, I'm on the menu, but I'm not going to order myself. Somebody else did. And so she was 8. So I'm not going to dance on Omarosa's grave because it's hard out there being black, and I don't like picking on black people because of all the people to pick on. I just pick on black people last. But it's instructive because even if you're on the table being black in America, you're still black. That means you're still also on the menu. And not only can other people pick you, it's possible that other black people can choose to eat you. I think we got ate by the Obamas. They were like, ooh, I'm at the table now. I could have some black people on the menu. Sorry, I picked them. So it's very instructive for us to know that even once you get on the table in America, unless we have policies of large intervention, we are also still on the menu. And a lot of people don't know. Actually, I'll be honest, a lot of baby boomer kids, and I'm from California, a lot of people in California who think that that don't know what it means to be black. And what we're going to hear about in the next few weeks is going to be Meghan Markle, the black princess, soon to be princess over in England. We're going to see her, and people are going to tell you that, like, you know, black women, we're awesome. We could be anything. No, for every Meghan Markle, there are 50 black women, and I know 40 of them. There are at least 50 black women in Los Angeles who expected to marry up and marry a prince. And it turns out that, like, it didn't work out that way. It's not working out that way. So don't let people use Meghan Markle to confuse you about what it means to be black. Omarosa is what it means to be black. And I'm going to tie this into Sheryl Sandberg, because Sheryl Sandberg apparently tweeted out, thank you, black women, for saving America or for beating Roy Moore for us. And see, Sheryl Sandberg told women to lean in, right? Omarosa leaned in, and that's where it got her. Sheryl Sandberg is a CFO of Facebook, which has 2% black employees. And I don't know how many of those black employees are women. And I don't know how many of those black employees are picking up stuff. Because it's one thing to work at Facebook, it's another thing to work at Facebook as a janitor. So, like, I want to know what Sheryl Sandberg does for black people besides thanking us, because thanking us is cheap for giving you the senator you wanted. Thanking us is cheap, and we are not going to be cheap anymore. I need you. We've worked for free before, and that's what we called slavery. So, and I'm sure the masters were thankful, or if maybe some of the masters were thankful. Who knows? So we need to actually start negotiating our terms. So Sheryl Sandberg, your thanks doesn't help build coalitions to secure this gain, and it doesn't help, pay mortgages or pay the bills. So next time a white woman or anybody thanks you for being black and being better than the sons and daughters that they raised, who voted for Roy Moore, the pedophile. We saved you from electing a pedophile. We saved you from yourself. And I kind of resent that a little bit, but I can get over it. I really resent being expected to do it for free. That's the problem. So what I need for Sheryl Sandberg personally, or in her civil society, in her position as CFO of Facebook, you need to hire black people. You need to hire lots of black people. You need to hire tons of black. I want 10%. 10% in California. I'd ask for more if it was a different place, but I want 10% in California. And I want an internship program geared for black people, to hire other black people. Also, that's just as your professional job. In your political work, I need you advocating for a federal job guarantee. So in your political work, I need you advocating for a federal job guarantee. That's not just Sheryl Sandberg. That's every black person. I need you advocating for a federal job guarantee and baby bonds. Now, baby bonds are a program, once again, like reasoned out by Sandy Darity and Derek Hamilton, where we're supposed to mimic the asset transfers in life that other Americans who have been here who aren't black get, right? So whereas black people go, would you believe that other people actually pay for their $40,000 weddings? Black people, we go into loans for them. Other people actually pay for their funerals or the funeral of their elders. Black people have been known to go into loans for them. We have to put them on the credit card. So the baby bonds would be a program, a federal administrative program, where actually just be all poor people, but since a lot of poor people are black, it'd be a lot of us, would be given a bond. All people would be given a bond, and it'd be indexed to poverty. That would mature at different points in times in your life. If you're Donald Trump, your bond is $25. If you're a lot of us, your initial bond would be $50,000 or $75,000. That would mature, once you turn 21, and again once you turn 40, and then it's kind of like Social Security, except for so you don't have to wait till you're 65 in order to live. And Social Security is another one of those programs that wasn't meant for us. So we just work until we drop, get knocked in an unmarked grave or a marked grave where our family had to go into loans to pay for. So these are the kinds of programs that we need. A federal job guarantee, once again, that's much like the WPA was in creating white wealth, and baby bonds. I'm looking for the video right now. I hate to be weird. I'm looking for the video right now where Sandy Darity talks about these programs, because he does so very well. And if you give me a second, I will find where it's located. And this is going to be a quick tutorial on the kinds of programs we need as black people, our politicians, to be advocating for. Baby bonds, there it is.
The same day, Maryland Governor Larry Hogan announced a plan to pour resources into law enforcement to address crime in Baltimore. Another type of discussion was happening in the city.
If we really want to trust people, we need to provide them with a structure and resources so that they can achieve and attain not just simply focus on subsistence policies to just provide them a simple enough to survive, or trying to be punitive and punish their seemingly bad behavior, which frankly manifests as a result from not bad behavior, but simply not having resources in the first place.
The National Asset Scorecard for Communities of Color is a project that assesses the level of and nuances of wealth disparities in cities across the country. At the 21st Century Neighborhoods 2017 Symposium, the project's lead investigators, Dr. Derek Hamilton and Dr. Sandy Darity, discussed their current work on wealth disparities in Baltimore.
With Baltimore was really relevant because of some of the media attention that was going on around criminalization and incarceration. So we wanted to look at another dimension, like what is the role of incarceration as it relates to incarceration and the intersection with race as it relates to asset building.
The Baltimore study assesses the relationships between race, wealth, and family histories of incarceration. As organizations like the Prison Policy Institute have documented, Maryland incarcerates a far higher proportion of Black people than white people. Unsurprisingly, Darity and Hamilton are also finding that more Black Baltimoreans have family histories of incarceration.
If we look at wealth, the median wealth position of Black families is virtually zero and negative if you've had exposure to incarceration.
The exact numbers aren't final yet, but their research indicates that Black Baltimoreans, especially those with a family history of incarceration, not only have far less wealth than white Baltimoreans, but are also less likely to have wealth-building assets that appreciate in value, like stocks, a house, or a bank account.
So if you don't have access to formal banking, you tend to have to resort to check cashing institutions that have much higher fees for banking.
Professors Darity and Hamilton also discussed potential redistributive measures. One was a federal job guarantee program. Another was what's known as a baby bond system.
But the idea is that every child would receive a trust fund. The amount of the trust fund would vary based upon the wealth position of the child's family. And so the wealthiest families, we'd give the newborn child a $50 trust fund, but for families at the lowest end of the wealth distribution, we'd give the kid $50,000 to $60,000.
The money in the trust would accrue interest and eventually could be used to put a down payment on a house or business.
So it's intended to give everybody capital at a key juncture so that they have an opportunity to build wealth. It doesn't guarantee an outcome, but we know that if you don't have a chip in the game, you can't even play the game.
And the professors have some ideas for how to fund such a program.
The estate tax is a potential option, but we can also think about the ways in which capital gains is taxed at the local level, the ways in which mortgage interest is taxed at the local level, and how those benefits and taxes are distributed. People at the low end of the wealth distribution oftentimes don't benefit one iota from these types of taxes. So we can think about caps, for instance, on some of those things. Should you be able to deduct a second home that costs $2 million and get state subsidy to do so? Maybe not.
But for right now, Dr. Darity thinks a more likely way to fund baby bonds would be to call on philanthropists.
The community would seize the opportunity to try to show how this type of project could be done, so we could learn about what needs to be altered or what needs to be changed before we tried to scale it up at the federal level when we have a more politically receptive Congress.
These programs, Darity and Hamilton argue, would represent a shift in how we think of public services.
We invest too much in trying to manage poverty. Stop trying to manage poverty and really think about ways to empower people.
But I think that most of our social programs to address the poverty problem are mechanisms that give you resources after you have already experienced poverty. And I think what we need is a structural apparatus in this society where people don't get exposed to poverty in the first place.
For The Real News, Tharna Noor, Baltimore.
America. That was Sandy Darity.
The same day, Maryland Governor Larry Hogan announced a plan to pour resources into law enforcement to address crime in Baltimore. Another type of discussion was happening in the city.
We really want to trust people. We need to provide them with a structure and resources so that they can achieve and attain, not just simply focus on subsistence policy, simple enough to survive, or trying to be punitive and punish their seemingly bad behavior. I'm going to have to go
which and come back.
Frankly manifests as a result from not bad behavior, but simply not having resources in the first place.
Yeah. Sound good to me. Never change the ways.
so we're back. And so that was Sandy Darity and Derek Hamilton breaking it down for you. And it's very important that you understand what they were talking about, because they were talking about two substantive policies that could actually move us forward, that can create the quality of generational wealth that we can close our eyes and squint really tightly, look at and see and find justice and actually see justice. Those two programs, although they don't actually necessarily are targeted to black people, you don't even have to say the word reparations to get those two programs, but those two programs will so disproportionately help black people, baby bonds and the federal job guarantee, that at a fair wage, that we can actually, create the quality of wealth that we deserve to not only work and die, but have extra money to do the kinds of things that we're supposed to be able to do without going into debt. We can do it. Don't let anyone tell you anything different. And don't let anyone tell you it's not possible. Trump was elected. Republicans do things that aren't. This is the time of the impossible. Trump wasn't supposed to be elected. All the really smart people were supposed to tell you that Trump wasn't supposed to be elected. Trump got elected. A Democrat wasn't. The white supremacist was always supposed to. The strongest white supremacist was always supposed to win in the South, especially Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, Carolina. But it turns out that the weaker white supremacists won in Alabama, and we did that. And that matters. Anything is possible. Don't let anyone tell you that baby bonds aren't possible, or that any of the policies that we require for justice aren't possible. And this is Mark Blythe saying a similar thing in a different accent.
The thing about liberal orders are, to the people inside of them who accept the rules, they're the most natural thing in the world. Liberalism's great trick has been to naturalize very, very difficult political contests and turn them into technocratic rules, objects of market rather than political contestation. And that's been the great liberal trick, is to make it seem incredibly normal, to make it look like that's the only game in town. And what's happening now is lots of people are saying, hang on a minute, this is a bit of a trick, isn't it? The thing about liberal orders...
So there are a lot of people whose business it is to tell us that these things are not possible, that we can't get reparations, that we can't get a federal job guarantee, and that we can't get baby bonds. I'm telling you, not only is it their job to fool us into distorting us into thinking it's not possible, we need to actively advocate for these programs, because a food pantry or charity or waiting for some Bitcoin bubble or 501c3 to save us is not going to do the job. We need to advocate for the quality of politics that we can. And we can't do it with money, but we can do it with our votes, and we can do it with our votes in the South, because Alabama shows that you actually can win with black people. You don't need white people to win. And that's what white people will tell you. They're like, you need us to win. We're working together. No, we only need 35% of y'all. Yeah, we can do it without you. We can do it without you. So you're going to have to speak if you want. So if any of us are going to do it at all, and really the only way we can do it without you, because they're going to say like, no, we don't need black people. We can get like conservative women. No, the data says that like, actually, no, you won't be able to turn conservative women. They will vote for the pedophile over voting for the Democrat. So anyone who says like, well, we need white women to get along to be a Democratic Party, say like, no. We just need the ones who are not willing to vote for the pedophile for us to win. And we need a lot of black people. So if we do our job right, we're going to be called divisive. So many times. You're going to have white people call us divisive. So many times, because we're trying to divide them from their politics of white supremacy. So next time some white lady calls you divisive, because like I said, if we do our job right, we're going to be called divisive, and we all need to come together to win. And you can say, yes, we can come together, but not under your order of domination. We can come together under an order of justice, which looks a whole lot like a federal job guarantee, so that our good people in Alabama who can't afford to get their septic system fixed can actually get rid of hookworms. So once again, if we do our politics right, we're holding all people who want black votes accountable for jobs, not symbolism, jobs. And that's a federal job guarantee. And anyone who's not talking about a federal job guarantee is wasting your time, Negro, because you're like, nothing else is going to get us where we need to go. And if for some reason you've kind of eked your way through, you still have cousins. Your daughter's still going to end up dating somebody. And so you need a federal job guarantee to make sure that the knucklehead your daughter is dating is going to have a good job at $20 an hour. So real politicians that we're voting for are pushing for a jobs bill, are pushing for baby bonds, are pushing for reparations. And we need to make it the case that Democrats, we can do it again if you're pushing for those policies. And if you don't push for those policies, we're okay with losing. Because nobody's making you not say the words federal job guarantee. Right? So what this is going to cause is a civil war between black people and white women. Because white women are going to say, well, we can win without talking about race or the quality of programs that actually we need for justice. And black people need to say, no, the only way we're going to let Democrats win is if they push for a federal job guarantee or the quality of politics that will actually move the needle. So there's going to be two big factions in this civil war. And for the last 100 years or so, the whims of white women have won it. And they're going to say no. We're Democrats. We're not like those other white women who voted for more. It's true. They didn't vote for more. They didn't vote for the pedophile. But they want to be friends with the other white women who voted for more. And they care more about being friends with these white women who voted for more than they care about, getting hookworms out of Alabama. They too want to be able to send, because there's a deal, and you have to understand that there's a deal between conservative white women and Democrat white women. They could disagree about abortion. They could disagree about where you want your pedophiles. And they could disagree about, what else can they disagree about? The environment. They could disagree about sexual harassment even, to a point. But where they agree is that we don't need to actually get serious about school integration with black people. We don't need to get serious about a federal jobs guarantee and making sure that black people aren't generationally poor. We don't need to get serious about reparations. That's where conservative white women and liberal white women can agree that nobody's going to make us actually share power with the masses and share risk with the masses of black people. They've agreed that it's okay to concentrate risk and the generational legacy in the black community. So that's what we're going to break up. We're going to be divisive, but we're going to divide the underground racial contract between conservative white women and liberal white women. And we're going to divide that and say, look, liberal white women, if you want to win, you're going to have to talk about the words federal job guarantee. That's not too much to ask. If you don't want to say those words, that's fine. And don't let them guilt you. They're not your friends. These are the ones who these women cared more about putting Michael Vick in jail than they cared about your son. That's who they are. So we're going to have to be divisive. It's okay. It's fine. There are going to be tears. But they will go on. They'll just go on with black people actually having a good federal job, which includes, cleaning up the hookworms in Alabama. Because what happens is, if you don't read the article, what happens is in these places, there's deferred maintenance. So the pipes will work, the sewage system will work for decades until it stops, but getting it fixed will cost $7,000, $8,000, and black people in the rural South do not have $7,000, $8,000, and they don't know people who have an extra $7,000 and $8,000 to pay for someone to fix the septic system. So they're literally walking around in their own crap, and then they have hookworms. And in Loudon County, it's up to a third. Like, we think about a third of the black people that have hookworms. And there's a black representative who doesn't talk about hookworms because white Democrats and Democrats in white women Democrats, because Democrats in Alabama, a lot of them are women, tell her that she doesn't have to talk about hookworms. But I'm saying, like, actually, no, we need to make our elected representatives talk about the hookworms. We need to cleave it. And they're going to call you divisive. They're going to call you misogynist. And you're just going to have to say, yes, possibly, but why can't the words federal job guarantee come out of your mouth? And if they actually say those words, federal job guarantee, then we can support them. If they say those words, baby bonds, we can support them. If they say those words, taxing segregation academies to pay for the federal job guarantee, then like we can do business. But unless they're willing to say those words, we're not being divisive. We're just not going to be ordered under their order of domination. Right? So we don't want unreasonable things. We don't want unreasonable things. We want jobs, guaranteed, because putting it on the private market isn't really kind to the black people in America. And there's actually a precedent for a federal job guarantee. The WPA was pretty much that. And also McGovern in 72, he ran on it a little bit. So like there is a precedent. It created a lot of wealth. And it would be jobs that we need done, like rural broadband, sewer system, stuff like that, for $20 an hour. So those are the kinds of programs that we need Democrats asking for. Are you getting something from YouTube is making you smile? All right. So YouTube, you might be cracking Marcus up, but we need deep size. We need not just a symbolic victory. We need a substantive victory. And if you don't watch out, the resistance with their pussy hats will just be happy with a symbolic victory, because they're not actually advocating for policy. They don't care about policies. They don't care about policies with Donald Trump. They'll pretend to care about immigration, but like Obama deported people. So they don't really care about it when Obama deported people. They care about his crassness, because white supremacy isn't a problem for white Democrats. White supremacy is not a problem for white Democrats. What it is a problem for white Democrats is its verbalization. The things you say, even misogyny, honestly, isn't a problem for white Democrats, as long as you're not crass about it. So they tax Trump for his crassness. And so once they get a Democrat or a Republican who's not as crass, they will be happy as long as they don't have to do the racial stuff that actually is justice. And the good news is, I want subsidized childcare. I want subsidized cleaning and maybe a private chef. I want a lot of government programs to make people's lives easier. That can be. I want equality and revolutionary for women. I want women to have a better quality of life. So it's not like I'm anti-woman. I'm just pro-black, including black women. I care about the nannies also, who should be getting paid $20 an hour, not just the pantsuit people. So if you care about both the people who do windows and women who do the windows and women who do white-collar jobs, then you could be a good Democrat of my book. If you don't care about those people and just want like nice pictures of Michelle Obama on your window, then like I'm not going to be one of your friends. I'm not going to be one of your friends. That's how it's going to be. And black people, we have to let it known that none of us are going to be your friends, and make it stronger. If you don't pick a candidate who talks about jobs, we'll let you lose. And that's going to be your choice, because we deserve jobs just like white people got jobs and land through the Homestead Act. So like, don't Don't talk to me about how this is untenable or impossible. Those are just the stakes. Those are the terms of their debate. That's part of the negotiation. We can do it. We can do it in Georgia. We can do it in Alabama. We can do it in Mississippi if Democrats are willing to talk about a federal job guarantee, if Democrats are willing to talk about baby bonds, if Democrats are willing to talk about substantive programs. Now, they're going to confuse you and say that, like, no, we can do it with microloans. But that's just not true. That's just, it's substantively not true. Or food banks or like nonprofits. No, like none of that stuff will work. What will work is a federal job guarantee at a living wage. We need to be honest about that. We need to tell them how to treat us so that we all can rise together. Because if that doesn't happen, a rising tide does not lift all boats. What happens is white boats go up and then like they use their boat to like raid and pirate our boat. So like if we want all boats to go up, we need the quality of programs that actually distribute the risk and the burden and the legacy of America's anti-blackness fairly among all people. That's not just all we're asking for. And if we don't get that, we will make the Democrats lose. And I think a good proxy primary for this is we're going to have to back Stacey Abrams. We're going to have to back Stacey Abrams for a few reasons in Georgia. We're going to have to back Stacey Abrams because, one, she's really smart. Stacey Abrams and I had a Negro-to-Negro tete-a-tete talk where we went over things that she says she can't say in public for reasons, but like programs she has. So, yeah, I don't actually trust her because if a politician's not going to say things in public, then, and I'm not going to divulge her plans because that was part of the deal, but if a politician's not going to say things in public, then I don't really trust them to do it once they get elected. However, she is one of the smartest human beings I've ever been in the same space with. And I've been in the space with a lot of smart people. You know, I am the funky academic. And I've been in the space with a lot of elected officials. So like one-on-one, she is actually smarter than you think she is. Everything works. So when she screws you, everything works also. But I don't think she's Kasim Reed. I just don't want to play her in chess. Actually, I do want to play her in chess just to see how she beats me. Like, so she's that good. She's that smart. Does she have the quality of backbone that'll get us what we need to get? I don't know. But we're going to have to back Stacey Abrams out of principle to show everyone else that we're serious about this black people stuff. And we're serious about, like, you're going to win with black people. So I'm not one of those guys who says, like, no, we need to elect more black people and that'll work. Because no, not all skin folk are kinfolk. And the black people, like Kasim Reed, there are some black people who will get elected and not do anything for black people. We don't need her because she's black. We need her to win the primary in Georgia to show everybody else that we need you to talk about the black stuff and like black politics matters. So if Stacey Abrams doesn't get the nomination, then we need to sit out the 2018 November election. Sorry, Stacey Evans. You're just white at the wrong time. It's okay. Like, you're also white at the right time, which is why you have a ton of money. You just don't get to be governor. So black people, for us, it's going to be Stacey Abrams or bust. And because we need to show the Democrats it's either black people or bust. That's a very important connection. And so now, is anyone doing anything on YouTube that I should know about?
A lot of agreeing. Someone brought up, where is it?
Like, don't let me just say, hey, don't let anyone tell you that, like, well, we just didn't know. White people are not ignorant. I'll say that again. Don't let anyone tell you that, oh, we just didn't know. White people are not ignorant. They know exactly what they do, and they just know that they can be good Democrats without giving black people the quality of politics.
So someone actually brought up a point that I hadn't even realized.
What's up?
I know some states have done it, but non-felons incarcerated not being able to vote.
Yeah, no, we need our
I
people to
knew
vote.
some states were allowing it, but I didn't realize that really is something that we're not doing.
Yeah, no, we need polls in the jails. Like, we don't alienate people from all rights. We don't just take your property and annul your marriage just because you went in jail. We just alienate you from this right. And if it's an inalienable right, we shouldn't alienate you from it, which means we need polls in jails. And we need Democrats who are like, yes, they're still humans. They're just doing their time. So put polls in the jail so our people can vote. Like, that's my problem. And I actually think, like, if we're gonna have prison labor, it should be unionized. You can still do it in jail, but like, they're still doing labor. And like, under connections, they need unionized, and like, that means access to lawyers and a press, and yeah, all of that.
If we let them unionize, then we won't be able to pay them 20 cents an hour.
No, you'll have to pay them $20 an hour. They're still doing work.
Kamala Harris said this was a bad idea.
Okay, yeah, Kamala Harris. We're gonna do a whole show about how Kamala Harris might be a bad idea. Yeah, we're gonna have to talk about her, because they're gonna shove you down her throat, or Cory Booker, as if she's gonna give you the quality of black politics you need. But no, she's gonna give you the quality of manners that the white Democrats want. Right? There's a difference. There's a quality of black politics that black people need to get to be free, and then there's a quality of manners that white Democrats want so that they can feel good about themselves. And I'm going to say this again. I'm going to do a whole show on, next week's show is going to be on the politics of manners and soft skills. White Democrats don't have a problem with white supremacy. They have a problem with its verbalization. They have a problem with its crassness. They have a problem with its rudeness. Right? So if they can find a polite white supremacist, no matter what they look like, they'll vote for that, especially if it's a Democrat that's got pretty good environmental policy. So I'm going to leave you with one more. Excuse me, what's up?
We actually do have a question.
Oh, yeah, what's up?
Ryan Moss wants to know, how can we organize a movement for reparations in this day and age among black people?
Among black people. All right, so that's a problem. All right, so black people are... All education of black people is founded in a distorted view of reality. It's a distorted view of history, and it's a distorted view of white terrorism. Not just slavery, but white terrorism. And that's why our justice claims are not taken seriously. So we need to do the history education and expect Democrats to actually teach the quality of history that is not calibrated to white feelings. We need the quality of history that's calibrated to the reality of white terrorism. And we need that in schools, not just for black people. We need white people to learn about their people being terrorists. And not just the tiki torches, like actually like the castration that went along with the lynching, because black men are the target, and in their manliness. So we need to talk about an education policy that's not just public schools, charter schools versus home schools. We need to do what the right does and get in the curriculum and say, like, no, I need you to read Mercer Baratheron's book, The Color of Money, in the curriculum as part of your AP history class. Like, because, and Neely Fuller said this right, if you don't know the operations of white supremacy, how it works, then everything else you think you know will only confuse you. White people are confused in a way that's very lucrative, or maybe they're not confused at all. Black people are confused in a way that costs us entirely too much. Now, I'm going to show you a video about my guy. This is a very important video about the myth of white ignorance, and then we'll take you out, because they know exactly what they're doing, and that's a problem. So here is my buddy, my colleague, the coolest cat I know, Tommy Curry, talking about the myth of white ignorance.
What is your thought on that suggestion, this belief, this notion that somehow all of these terroristic acts that are committed against black people, that somehow this is the result of white people being ignorant about some aspect of racism or lacking awareness, knowledge of racism?
Yeah, I think, as you know, I have a huge problem with this issue, with this concept, right? I find it untenable, and I find it apologetic to endow white people with virtue and almost a childlike innocence when they have to deal with something like white supremacy and racism. The argument seems to proceed on the fact that even when white people do seemingly deliberate acts against racialized peoples, racialized folk, that even those acts where they directly benefit from it are done out of ignorance. And I think that what this sustains is this kind of cherub nature, this nature that white people are really aiming and willing to learn and to correct their behavior if just this right black person came along and taught them what to do. I find that just ridiculous, right? I mean, we have to look at the historical context. We know that white people have done the same types of behaviors. They've discriminated against black people. They've called black people niggers. They've called black people God knows what other names. They've always vitiated blackness. They've secluded and segregated blackness. To repeat those things doesn't seem to be the work of ignorance. In fact, it seems to be the repetition of historical knowledge about how to treat black folk. So when we see the same thing, ignorance seems to be just an unrealistic apologetic. The other problem I have with this is, as you say, this makes its way into the academy. I mean, the dominant way that we do race and racism today in the university is to endow white people with this type of ignorance. And actually the work that I'm doing right now on anti-ethics specifically responds to this issue, right? That every time we think that we're talking about race or racism, what we do is we elevate white people's morality and their type of character so that they become these very neutral and observer speakers, where they can be influenced and allegedly objectively arbitrate racial realities before them. This is all false. I mean, even the work that's done in implicit bias shows that white people have some very deep-seated cultural and unconscious anti-black biases in their interactions and in terms of their social reality when looking at engaging black folk. So to suggest that white people are simply innocent, right, because ignorance does in many ways connote innocence, to suggest that they're innocent simply because they do not know or hence ignorant doesn't really capture the cultural and the psychological works of how racism against black people function. And what this does is this elevates certain black speakers, and this is the really important part. To suggest that white people are simply ignorant and need to be taught elevate certain black speakers to the position of the teacher. And we spoke about this before when I talked about critical race therapies, right? When the black people say, oh, they're ignorant and take on the charge of educating these white people who have committed racist acts instead of ostracizing them or attacking them, they now become that preferred Negro. They become the person that's rewarded with the publications, with the invitations, because they're just trying to teach white folk. The black person that holds those white people accountable for their racist acts and for the effect that those acts have had on other black people, well, that person becomes the radical. So white ignorance is a kind of dialogue and rhetoric that's gained hold precisely because it maintains white virtue. It allows us to see white people as being the good, innocent, intellectual, rational person that can learn to change, whereas black people are the collateral damage of such engagements. Because as that white person changes, black people are still being discriminated against, and they're actually the material, the substance of the lesson. I just find that to be an unacceptable consequence for such empty rhetoric.
Empty rhetoric. Absolutely. In fact, as you said, maintaining white virtue, maintaining white supremacy. One of the important concepts that you shared in your response, you said that there are frequently black people who are in the academy, or even if they're not in the academy, they can benefit. They become the teacher.
Oh, yeah.
If white people
Absolutely.
are ignorant about racism, then I can just, if you get my book, if you invite me to do a seminar or a lecture, you'll be all caught up. We'll get you up to speed, and you
Absolutely.
will no longer be racist. I see the power and really the danger of this belief in white ignorance, that even a lot of black people who, they don't have any publications, they don't do any lectures, they don't get a shilling, not one coin, from making an effort to teach and absolve white people about racism. Just that belief, I think it's holding on to, as you said, this empty rhetoric, this hope that these acts, Michael Dunn, Paula Dean, whomever we're speaking about, that these people, they just don't know what they're doing.
All right, so you get the gist of what Tommy was talking about. you can watch the whole interview. Just put in Google Tommy Curry ignorance and the myth of white ignorance. Like if we just taught them, if they just knew more, if we just spent more time teaching them. One, that's a lot of unpaid labor that wastes our time as our kids die or get dumber through hookworm. Two, education doesn't do it for white people because you know what educated white people did in Alabama? They voted for the pedophile because that's what educated white people did. And you know who actually did this the best? Non-educated black people. Like, no, black people without college degree, they didn't even mess around with write-ins. Look at that. like they're just like, nope. They just nope their way right out of that. Nope. Like they didn't have to get confused. They didn't have to like, well, you know, I got to see both sides of the situation. Like they know an asshole when they see it. So, so you have to wonder about how college education makes white people marginally better about being a good citizen, but it makes black people a little bit worse if you look at the numbers. They got a little bit worse. Just a hair worse. So you have to think about what are we teaching in schools that precipitates this. And I'm serious about that because if our problems are political, if our problems and our freedom isn't in what skills we have or don't have, but rather in the political distribution of resources, we need a college and high school curriculum that's calibrated to making us the quality of citizens that will actually fix and not only that, making white people the quality of citizens we need to advocate for the quality of curriculum that will make white people the quality of citizens that will get the justice claims that we deserve. Because whatever STEM or new math or like the right-hand rule for physics or the 1s1, 2p6, like all the chemistry stuff I used to know. I know how to take derivatives. I know a lot of things, but apparently you can know all of those things and still vote for the pedophile. So we need a quality of high school and college curriculum that teaches everybody how to vote for the non-white supremacist. And that's a quality of curriculum we should be teaching. Because right now we have the quality of curriculum that teaches people to vote for the bad guy and doesn't disabuse college-educated. Let me look at this. It doesn't disabuse college graduates enough. Not enough. The number should be like, I think college graduates should have at least the political acumen of non-college black people. Like that's what I'm asking for. So if non-college black people voted for like ousted the pedophile by 90%, then like I think college graduates should do that. Because if you don't learn how to do that, then like why even go to school? Like you're not setting yourself up to win. And I think that is going to be our show. Next week I'm going to talk about manners and how manners are being used to keep black people from talking about the quality of politics we need. And it's not just respectability politics. And also, I'm going to go in on gender. So like next week, I wanted to warm up that this is going to come down to a civil war between black people who care about freedom and white women who care about manners. Next week, I'm actually going to go in. I think that's going to be the title of the show. The civil war in the Democratic Party between black people who care about freedom and white women who care about manners. And then it's going to be a little bit tricky because the trick is going to be black women. The trick is going to be black women because these white women are going to say like, no, your men beat you. So you should be with women and just care about manners. And black men are going to be like, no, we fight with each other and we would fight less with each other if we had like better jobs. So we need like a jobs bill. We need a black, like, so the civil war between black people as a people and white women within the Democratic Party is going to turn on black women. Sisters, we're going to need you to start talking policy instead of manners. You can do it. I know you can. We'll get there together. Thank you for your time. Peace.